The cargo bay of the stellar drift hummed with the usual mechanical symphony of a ship in transit. Harper Voss sat cross-legged near the auxiliary storage compartments, trying to locate her multi-tool in the chaotic depths of her backpack. 3 weeks into this deep space salvage mission, and somehow her gear had achieved sentience in its ability to hide from her. "Where the hell did I put that thing?" she muttered, upending the bag onto the deck plating. That's when she heard it. A soft, melodic chirping sound, like wind chimes made of crystallized starlight. Harper's head snapped up. The Kirivian cubs, all 6 of them, had emerged from their nesting alcove and were now watching her with their enormous, multifaceted eyes that gleamed with unsettling intelligence. "Oh no," Harper whispered. "Not you guys again." The cubs were barely knee-high, covered in downy fur that shifted colors based on their moods. Currently, they were displaying swirls of curious orange and calculating purple. Their species, the Kirivians, were known throughout the galactic community as master engineers and logisticians. Even their young possessed an almost obsessive need to organize, categorize, and optimize everything they encountered. The smallest cub, Tivy, chirped twice and waddled forward on his 4 stubby legs, his tiny manipulator appendages, which would one day grow into the dexterous tentacles of an adult, wiggled with barely contained excitement. "Tivy, no," Harper said firmly, already knowing it was futile. The cub ignored her and began examining the scattered contents of her backpack with the intensity of a scientist discovering a new element. The other cubs joined him, their chirps rising in pitch and frequency, creating a chorus that somehow sounded both adorable and deeply judgmental. Harper's crewmate, Kelnax, a hulking thoraxian, whose exoskeleton gleamed under the cargo bay lights, lumbered over to investigate. "What are they doing now?" "What they always do," Harper sighed. "Judging my life choices." Tivy picked up Harper's emergency rations, protein bars that tasted like compressed sadness, and chirped disapprovingly. He set them aside in a neat pile. Another cub grabbed her medical kit and began sorting the contents by size, then apparently decided that was insufficient and reorganized them by color. "They are optimizing," Kelnax observed, his translator rendering his clicking speech into flat, matter-of-fact tones. "Kirivian young cannot resist inefficiency. It causes them physical discomfort." "My backpack was fine," Harper protested, even as she watched Tivy discover her emergency stash of chocolate bars hidden in a side pocket. The cub held up the contraband, chirped what could only be interpreted as, "really," and placed them in a separate pile labeled, apparently, as non-essential luxury items. "Your backpack," Kelnax said, "violates approximately 47 principles of optimal load distribution." "Since when are you an expert?" "Since the cubs reorganized my weapon locker last week. I must admit, their system is superior." Harper watched in fascination and horror as the cubs worked with frightening efficiency. Tivy had assumed the role of project lead, directing the others with specific chirp patterns. One cub found her spare socks mismatched, naturally, and after a moment of apparent internal debate, sorted them by thickness rather than attempting to pair them. Another cub discovered her portable data pad and, after some experimental chirping, figured out how to access her file system. Within seconds, the cub was reorganizing her folders with the ruthless efficiency of a corporate IT department. "Hey, those are my personal files." Harper lunged forward, but Tivy intercepted her. Placing his tiny paws on her knee and looking up at her with eyes that contained more wisdom than any creature his size had a right to possess, he chirped softly, almost gently, and Harper felt her resistance crumble. "Fine," she muttered. "Do your worst." The cubs worked for another 20 minutes. When they finished, Harper's backpack looked like it belonged to a different person, someone organized, methodical, someone who didn't shove things randomly into pockets and hope for the best. Tivy presented the reorganized pack to Harper with a proud chirp. Everything was secured in compression cubes, which Harper didn't even know she had, and arranged by frequency of use and mission criticality. Her multi-tool, the item she'd been searching for, was now in an easily accessible outer pocket, held in place by a clever folding system. "This is..." Harper picked up the pack, testing its weight distribution. "Actually, this is amazing." "We..." the cubs chirped in unison, a sound of pure satisfaction. Tivy's fur shifted to a pleased shade of golden yellow. "You know what the terrifying thing is?" Harper said to Kelnax. "Human kids at that age are still figuring out how not to eat crayons. Yet humans built the first faster-than-light drive using nothing but stubbornness and unsafe amounts of caffeine," Kelnax countered. "Every species has their strengths." Harper had to concede the point. The galaxy was full of species that surpassed humanity in specific areas: the Carivians and their organizational genius, the Thoraxians and their strength, the Velkari and their telepathy. But humans had something else. They had adaptability, creativity, the ability to look at a problem from angles that made other species uncomfortable. And apparently, they also had the ability to appreciate being completely shown up by toddler-aged aliens. Tivy chirped one more time and held up Harper's chocolate bars, which he'd wrapped in a protective, insulating layer. He'd even labeled them with a small tag that read, in universal script, "Morale maintenance supplies, access as needed." Harper laughed, a genuine surprise sound that echoed through the cargo bay. She reached down and carefully scratched behind Tivy's ear analogs, earning a purring chirp of contentment. "Thank you, little guy," she said softly. As the cubs waddled back to their nesting area, satisfied with their work, Harper strapped on her newly optimized backpack. It felt lighter, better balanced, and somehow more right. "Next time," Kelnax said, "perhaps let them organize before you search." Harper grinned. "Where's the fun in that?" In the vast darkness of space, aboard a salvage ship crewed by a dozen different species, a human and her perfectly optimized backpack headed toward the bridge. Behind her, soft chirps of satisfaction faded into the mechanical hum of the ship. Efficiency, Harper decided, was overrated. But when it came with that much adorable determination, she could make an exception.